What up, what up, what up? Episode 1, Color Me Crypto, Wallets, Miners, and Nodes. On this episode, going to pretty much learn what a wallet is, what a miner is, and what a node is, how they interact with one another on the blockchain. And hopefully you start investing in cryptocurrency if you aren't already, or you just learned something that you didn't know before, because that's the ultimate goal. Hopefully you leave here with something you didn't have before, and do consider subscribing, liking. This will be uploaded on both YouTube and Facebook as well, just to increase the exposure until I'm ready to start putting some money down on marketing and things of that nature, ads and all that good stuff. So much love. Thank you for tuning in. We're gonna jump right into this video. Contact information: feel free to send an email to adamantineblade@protonmail.com. The Discord server, a link will also be in the description. You do not need an account to join, you just need to set a guest name. All I ask is that you be respectful of the rules and the other people on the server. It is named Mansa's Market after Mansa Musa, the richest man to ever walk the earth of the Mali Empire, a man from the motherland. Do consider donating. Got support links for Cashapp, PayPal, Venmo, and Bitcoin. Didn't put a QR code for Bitcoin. You can just copy and paste that. But if you like the content, do consider donating. Much love. Let's hop right into the video. So let's start with the foundational understanding of what cryptocurrency is. I wanted to use a pyramid. On the right hand side of the screen, you see you have peer-to-peer, you have distributed ledger technology, you have blockchain, and then you have cryptocurrency. Basically, cryptocurrency is the fruit of all these other technologies that it's built on, and you have it going from the very, very ground level, which is peer-to-peer technology. If you're familiar with torrents, that's pretty much peer-to-peer. In a peer-to-peer scheme, every single computer on the network, users 1, 2, 3, and 4, they're also servers. You have what is called a client-server network model. This is not the case in peer-to-peer. In a peer-to-peer network, or P2P network, every single computer on the network is also a server. There is no single point of failure. The only way the network would fail is if every single computer running the same software, because ultimately it is software that's communicating with it's basically software on each computer communicating with software on the other computer, if that makes sense. So the only way you could shut down a peer-to-peer network or stop services on a peer-to-peer network is if every single computer on that network were to go down at the same time forever. You get what I'm getting at. But basically, say you're at your job. Whenever you send an email using whatever email client your job uses, that mail is going through what is called a mail server or an exchange server. So every single computer on that network is sending its mail to the mail server. Typically, you probably have 2 mail servers. If one or both of those mail servers go down in your business, no one at your job can send mail. That is called a client-server model, because the client, which is you at your desk, doing your work or whatever, you're the client, and you're reaching out to the server, which would be the mail server, which is providing a service to send mail. So in a client-server model, you have a client, which would be one of these users, and you have a server. However, in a P2P network, you only have pairs, and a pair on a P2P network is both a client and a server. It combines both roles into one. So every single computer on the network essentially becomes a server. Therefore, there is no single point of failure, and the network will not fail because 1 or 2 computers go down. Every single computer on the network can provide the same service to every single client on the network. That is essentially a peer-to-peer network in a nutshell. Then you have distributed ledger technology. Basically, a ledger is a record, a chronological record of events. I don't want to say transactions, but we'll just say events for now. Distributed ledger technology is any technology that is built on top of a peer-to-peer, P2P network, and is a database. It is a database that is shared across these computers, and it synchronizes itself without the need for a central authority. That is where you get the word distributed in there. There is no there's no central point on the network. The network is literally every single computer on it. And the distributed ledger is the database that is synchronized across all the computers. So you have user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4. If 2 and 3 go down, users 1 and 4 can still provide services to the rest of the network, or they can still provide a copy of the ledger to the rest of the network, because again, in a P2P network, every client is also a server. So whenever the issue gets resolved on computers 2 and 3, they can join the network and resynchronize themselves to the distributed ledger, if that makes sense. It will make sense if it doesn't. But blockchain blockchain's more or less the same thing. It's a specific type of distributed ledger technology though. Blockchain is not cryptocurrency. It is the foundation that cryptocurrency is built on. However, there are many coinless blockchains out there. There are blockchains that are used for voting. There are blockchains that are used for tracking resources. There's all types of different blockchains. The blockchain is pretty much an append-only list. We say it's a ledger that lists transactions because in this context we're talking about cryptocurrency. But in reality, the blockchain is a database that is stored across several computers that synchronizes itself automatically and updates without the need for a single point of failure or a single controller. Every single computer on the network has the same amount of pull, more or less, as to what direction the network will go. And then at the top, at the pinnacle, you have cryptocurrency, which, as I said, is the fruit of everything. So that's pretty much how it goes. You have peer-to-peer technology, you have distributed ledger technology, then you have the big bad blockchain, and on top of that is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is the final piece of the puzzle. So let's go. Blockchain, a distributed ledger listing all transactions. Obviously, the blockchain is made up of blocks. Transactions are grouped together in blocks. So a block is not just one transaction. A block is literally, it could be thousands of transactions, but a block is basically a link on the blockchain. Blocks are listed chronologically and cannot be edited. Earlier we said that the blockchain is append only. That means you cannot delete entries, you cannot edit entries, you can only add new entries. So blocks are listed chronologically and cannot be edited. The very first block on a blockchain is referred to as the Genesis block. Like in the Bible, you have Genesis. If you have block number 0, because you don't start at 1, you start at 0, block number 0 is referred to as the Genesis block. Just keep that in mind. Transactions, once they're grouped into these blocks, they get what are called confirmations. A confirmation basically means that the network accepts that transaction as valid. And with each new block, it will get more confirmations. So for example, if you have a transaction on the Genesis block, after block number 1 gets added, it has 2 confirmations, one from 0 and one from 1. If you move on, it'll just keep adding and adding and adding. More on that maybe in a later video. But just understand, blockchain, a distributed ledger listing all transactions in chronological order, and it cannot be modified. It is stored across several different computers, pairs, in P2P. It's shared across several different computers on the network. Therefore, it's distributed. There's no single point of failure. Before we talk about wallets, let's break down the word cryptocurrency. You have the words cryptography and currency, the conjunction of them being cryptocurrency. Cryptography is basically the study and art of using secret codes to hide a message's true meaning. That is cryptography in a nutshell. That way, even if someone gets the message, someone who was not supposed to receive that message, they cannot read it because it has been encrypted. And you can only get the original message by decrypting it. That is cryptography in a nutshell. Then you have currency, which, as we all know, it means money, it means legal tender, but the root of it, curren, if it's a Latin word, if I'm not mistaken. So curren means literally to run. That's where you get the word current. When you're talking about a flowing body of water, a current, the current sweeps you away. So when you take the cryptography, which is the secret codes, and then curren, which means to run, cryptocurrency basically means that the network is running on cryptography. It is running on secret codes. Secret codes maintain, secure the network. And notice in the definition of wallet, I have a device or program for managing encryption keys. Notice the wallet says nothing about holding coins. All coins, as far as cryptocurrency is related at least, all coins are held on the blockchain. You access coins that are on the blockchain by using your wallet. Your wallet does not actually store the coins. I hope that makes sense. A device or program for managing keys, your public key and your private key. That's a little oversimplified, but that's it in a nutshell. Your wallet stores encryption keys, a private key and a public key. This scheme is known as asymmetric or public key encryption. It's called asymmetric because there's an imbalance. You have a private and a public. That's where you get asymmetric. Public key encryption because you share your public key with people, and that allows them to encrypt messages that are intended for you. The only difference with cryptocurrency is instead of messages, we're moving over to the transfer of funds. Notice the second bullet does not hold coins. Coins are on blockchain. Your private key is literally used to unlock money that belongs to you on the blockchain. Because in public key encryption, your public key, the key that it's fine if you share it with people, that key is used to encrypt messages that are intended for you or money that's intended for you. And then the private key that you keep to yourself, that you keep hidden away, you use that to decrypt or spend money that belongs to you on the blockchain. Remember, the wallet does not hold your coins. The wallet only holds your private keys and your other keys that are derived from it. Because the public key stems from the private key and the receiving address stems from the public key. It's a one-way street. You cannot get your private key by using a receiving address, because if that were the case, no one's money would be safe. I hope that makes sense. And it is required to send or receive coins. You need a wallet, point blank period. Even if you don't download the wallet to your computer or your cell phone, there is a wallet somewhere on there that is allowing you to spend cryptocurrency. We're going to talk more about that later. So the wallet, again, it's for key management. It stores your encryption keys, your public and your private. No wallet equals no seed or private key. We're going to talk more about that. No private key equals no public key. No public key equals no receiving address. And no receiving address equals no money. You could also say no private key equals no money. So, like we briefly said earlier, the public key is based on the private key. The public key is a hash or a digest of the private key. And then to get your receiving address, you hash the public key. So the receiving address is a digest of the public key, and the public key is a digest of the private key. Notice it says no wallet equals no seed or private key. Although it's a little more complicated than that, for all intents and purposes, you can say the seed is the private key. What the seed is, when you get a wallet, you'll understand this. The seed is 12 or 24 words. It just depends on the wallet that you're using. The seed is a series of words that are used to restore your private key. So if your computer gets destroyed, if your computer gets lost, if your computer gets stolen, as long as you have that seed, which is 12 or 24 words, you can restore your private key. And remember, the private key is basically your money. So with the seed, you're pretty much safe. Your computer could blow up, your computer could get hacked by the Russians. Well, maybe not by the Russians, but your computer could get stolen or compromised. But as long as you keep that seed safe, you can get all of your money back. We might talk about the seed later in this video, but just know that your private key is super important. You're not gonna have any money without a wallet, because you're not gonna have a private key without a wallet. And without a private key, you can't unlock any money on the blockchain. So you have different wallet types to meet the demands of different people. It makes perfect sense. Hardware versus software. Hardware is going to be something you can touch physically. Software is going to be something digital. That's all that means. Hot versus cold. A hot wallet is on the internet. It is on a device that connects to the internet directly. That is a hot wallet. A cold wallet, on the other hand, is one that does not connect directly to the internet. That's why it's cold, because it's not touching all these other devices that are networking and communicating with each other. That's the difference, a hot versus a cold. Hot is online, cold is offline. Then you have custodial versus non-custodial. And you can think of it like this. A custodial would be like a bank account. The money is yours. You can spend it. You can withdraw it. You can add more money to your balance. But ultimately, the bank controls that money. That's your money, but the bank's holding it for you. That is what a custodial wallet is. And a non-custodial would be more like a piggy bank. It would be, you can pretty much do whatever you want. That is the difference between custodial and non-custodial. That's talking about ownership. Ownership specifically of the private key, where with a custodial wallet, someone else is managing or holding that private key on your behalf. So the money's yours. Do what you want with it. But ultimately, they control it because they control the private key. And then non-custodial pretty much means you control it. You accept all the risk. It's your money. If you lose it, that's your loss. No one's obligated to help you. Let's go a little more in depth into a hardware wallet. All hardware wallets are cold storage. This means that the private key is held strictly offline. A private key that is on a hardware wallet will never touch the internet directly. Hardware wallets communicate with the blockchain via what are called bridge programs. The bridge program is basically an interface on your computer that lets you perform transactions and other functions of the hardware wallet. But again, the private key will never cross that bridge program to directly interact with the blockchain. The transaction is signed offline and then it is moved over to the computer. I hope that makes sense. So now let's talk about the non-custodial wallet. The non-custodial wallet doesn't necessarily deal with hardware or software. That's why I left in, you'll see for the examples, you have Electrum, Armory, Atomic, and Trezor, which is a hardware wallet. So non-custodial, again, is really just referring to ownership of the key. Earlier, remember, a non-custodial wallet, think about a piggy bank. Your piggy bank is yours to do with as you please. You have full control. You can pull money out of it. You can add money. You can do whatever you want with your piggy bank. But that also means that it's your total responsibility. So basically, a non-custodial wallet gives you full control, but at the same time, you also have full responsibility for anything that potentially goes wrong. So now the custodial wallet, the opposite of the non-custodial, because you do not control your encryption keys. However, they're very convenient. You can send, receive very quickly. You can execute trades. You can swap coins very easily. And that's not to say that you can't do all of that with a non-custodial wallet. But on a custodial wallet, which is usually going to be hosted on a website for an exchange, they make the interface very easy, very intuitive, user-friendly. Some examples on the side: Coinbase, Binance, Robinhood. There's a lot more. There's BlockFi, Crypto.com, etc., etc. But just know, with a custodial wallet, you do not own the private keys, but you can use it to conduct transactions. So now the receiving address. At the very start of the video, we said the receiving address is based on the public key, which is based on the private key. So the receiving address is literally just a string, an alphanumeric string, used to receive crypto. It can be represented by a QR code. This is called a unique resource identifier. It's just a QR code that maps out to those same crazy letters and numbers. And sometimes, last bullet point, sometimes it will require extra information. For example, XLM uses a memo ID. So if you mess up that address or you don't add that memo ID, you might not get your money. Just keep that in mind. Remember, if you send funds to an incorrect address, it's pretty much gone. It's burnt. That's called burning. When you send coins to a wrong address, those coins have been quote unquote burnt. So we've already beat this horse to death. The private key is a secret number allowing users to spend coins. It might be represented as an alphanumeric string, but ultimately it's a number. The private key defines how much funds on the blockchain belong to its owner. Remember, we were talking about unlocking coins on the blockchain because they're encrypted. The private key decrypts those coins and allows you to spend them. Receiving addresses are generated using the private key. We already talked about this. This picture is just so you can visualize it, but 9 times out of 10, you will not see your private key unless you explicitly tell the program that you're running, tell your wallet software to export or show you your private key. But in day-to-day sending money, receiving money, you're not gonna really interact with the private key. Miners, computers that secure a crypto network's blockchain through proof of work, POW. That's a common abbreviation you will see. Miners have literal proof that they have done the work they claim to do. Because similar to when you were in math class, when you had an equation, you would write down your steps. That's very similar to what miners are doing. They are literally looking for the solution to a complex equation. The solution that they're looking for is called a nonce. N-O-N-C-E. Nonce. It stands for number used once. It's a variable, and these miners spit out thousands of different variables into this equation in hopes of finding a new block. Once they find that new block, they get to write it to the blockchain and they earn rewards as a result. In the bottom right corner, we have an ASIC miner. They're currently the most efficient. However, right now they are extremely expensive. Look up the price for an ASIC miner and your mind will be blown. On the top above the ASIC, we have GPU miners. That's called a mining rig. They are in high demand as of 29 April 2021. GPU miners are also very efficient. They're not as expensive, but because the market right now is in high demand and the supply is extremely low, that price is going up. And then underneath it on the left hand side, we have USB miners. I just wanted to include it. They're not very efficient. They're not gonna earn you a lot of money, but they're still better than mining with your CPU, so I included them there. They're miners, but they're not as efficient. they're not as good as an ASIC or a GPU. But remember, miners secure their network by performing all the cryptography. Remember, cryptography plus currency equals cryptocurrency. Miners are the computers doing all of the complex mathematical equations needed to encrypt, decrypt, process transactions, add blocks to the network, mint new coins, and things of that nature. Their speed is measured in hash rate, or what is called hash power. The network's overall hash rate determines how secure that network is. The higher the hash rate, the more secure. The lower the hash rate, the less secure. So that's what miners do. They mint new coins and secure the network. Lastly, we have full nodes. A full node is a computer that hosts a copy of the blockchain on its local storage device. So say, for example, you have 100 transactions of Bitcoin. A full node will have a copy of all 100 transactions of Bitcoin on its local storage device, whether it be a hard drive or a USB or whatever. So that's what a full node is. It acts as a relay point, it polices the network, and it forms the backbone of the system. By police the network, we mean if there are transactions that are being sent out to the network that don't line up with the blockchain's rules, a full node will just ignore it. It'll discard it. That's what it means by police the network. They act as relay points. They share information throughout each other with one another, and they update the status of the network. If you look at the diagram, notice that every single node is connected to a full node. Light nodes and mining nodes do not connect to each other. They connect to a full node. That's why full nodes form the backbone of the system. Just like how in your spine you have different vertebrae that make up your spine, that is how full nodes work. Each full node is an individual vertebrae in the spine. And then mining nodes, they're the same thing as miners. You can use those terms interchangeably. All miners are nodes, but not all nodes are miners. So hopefully that makes sense. What a mining node will do is connect to a full node's memory pool, or its memory bank, whatever term you want to use. It'll look for a bunch of transactions that have not been confirmed yet. Remember, a confirmation just means that this transaction is good. It's been included into a block and it's good to go. So what mining nodes do is they look for unconfirmed transactions and try to group them into a block. And once it's in a block, a full node will confirm it once it's been written into the blockchain. So miners do the work of creating new blocks and updating the blockchain, but full nodes hold a copy of the blockchain on their person, on their device, if you will. And then lastly, we have the light node. When you think of a light node or a lightweight node, just think of wallets. Because remember, the wallets store and manage your encryption keys, and you need encryption keys to transfer funds on the blockchain. Light nodes do not connect to other light nodes. They connect to full nodes and get just enough information on the status of the network to be able to perform transactions. So when you think of a light node, just think of a wallet, whether it be custodial or non-custodial, because ultimately a light node has to connect to a full node, or else it won't be able to communicate across the network. So it's very I don't want to say simple, but it's very straightforward, because as the name implies, a full node does it all. A full node does it all. The only thing they don't do is what the miner's job is, to do pretty much the legwork and the security of the system. If you want to think human body, full node is your vertebrae, and mining nodes are your skin and your nervous system and your white blood cells and everything else. That's what miners are. Miners keep the network secure, and full nodes are the network for lack of a better explanation. But full nodes form the network, mining nodes secure the network, and light nodes connect to the network to conduct business and things of that nature. However, that's not to say that a full node can't also be used to send or receive money, because full nodes oftentimes will have wallet functionality where they can send, receive, sign transactions, and look up the status of other transactions, things of that nature. But ultimately, the main feature of a full node is that it can provide services to the network. So when we were talking at the very beginning about the P2P network, the peer-to-peer network, full nodes are those computers that are acting as both clients and servers. Every other computer on the network that isn't a full node is just a client. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to leave some comments. Keep it PG, and hope you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Feel free to download the video, share it with your friends. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Much love. Color Me Crypto. Digital Cash Decoded. Peace.